Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a company whose footprint on our modern world is, well, literally inescapable. We are talking about Microsoft. Over the course of nearly 50 years, Microsoft's history resembles nothing short of a wild corporate roller coaster. I mean, it's a dramatic hero's journey complete with incredibly humble beginnings, ruthless conquests, some pretty massive stumbles, and honestly, an incredible modern renaissance.
Okay, let's dive into this. $2 trillion. That's a 2 with 12 zeros. If you were working in your sweatpants from home during the 2021 boom, you probably helped build that number. Spurred by global lockdowns, the demand for cloud computing and gaming absolutely skyrocketed. Microsoft's valuation surged to near the $2 trillion mark, cementing its status as one of the most valuable, powerful entities on the entire planet. But to truly understand how they built a machine capable of generating that kind of wealth, we really have to look at where they started. Because if you compare that modern behemoth status with their early days, the contrast is mind-blowing. $16,005. That was Microsoft's total revenue by the end of 1976. And they didn't start in some massive, shiny, futuristic campus in Redmond. Nope, they started as a super scrappy operation out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The leap between those two figures sets the stage perfectly for just how aggressively this company has grown and evolved over the decades. So, to make sense of this massive history, we're going to break it down into 5 distinct eras. First up, founding the PC revolution. Then, Windows and global dominance. After that, internet and antitrust battles. Followed by mobile misses and Xbox. And finally, cloud, gaming, and AI. Let's jump right in.
Era number 1. Founding the PC revolution. The scrappy startup. The spark for this entire journey happened in late 1974, all thanks to a magazine cover featuring the first microcomputer.
You know, the speed at which founders Paul Allen and Bill Gates moved is just staggering. Back in 1975, Gates actually called up the Altair computer manufacturer and offered to demonstrate a basic interpreter for them. The catch? They didn't even have one. They didn't even own an Altair computer. But in just 8 weeks, they developed it from scratch, and it worked perfectly. By 1980, they launched their very first piece of hardware, the Z80 soft card for the Apple II, which became an immediate massive hit. And then, the big one. In 1981, they secured the historic contract to provide the operating system for the upcoming IBM personal computer.
Now, Microsoft won this early operating system war not just with good tech, but with a seriously aggressive business strategy. For that IBM deal, Microsoft actually went out and purchased a clone of a competing operating system, CP/M, for less than $100,000. That clone became IBM PC DOS. IBM then offered customers a choice. You could buy the original CP/M for $240, or you could get Microsoft's PC DOS for just $40. Obviously, because of that deeply undercut price, PC DOS became the absolute standard.
Moving right along to era number 2. Windows and global dominance, controlling the desktop. This is where it was time to leave text-based systems in the dust and chase the graphical user interface.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how ruthless Microsoft could be in securing its future. Back in 1985, IBM asked Microsoft to help them develop a brand new operating system called OS/2. But Microsoft was secretly continuing to pour resources into their own alternative, which was Windows. When Windows 3.0 just absolutely exploded in popularity in 1990, selling over 100,000 copies in 2 weeks, Gates essentially scrapped the IBM partnership altogether. The industry called this the head fake. Basically, Microsoft used IBM's massive momentum while quietly building the exact software that would eventually defeat them.
The market dominance they achieved off the back of this was completely unprecedented. By 1986, out of the 15 million Americans using personal computers at work, over 90% were relying on MS-DOS. But the true masterstroke? That came in 1989 with Microsoft Office. By taking Word, Excel, and PowerPoint and bundling them all together into one package, Microsoft created an absolute stranglehold on workplace productivity. They completely crushed competitors who were still trying to sell those applications separately. Honestly, if you've typed in a Word document or wrestled with an Excel spreadsheet today, you're experiencing the direct, living result of that exact 1989 strategy.
That brings us to our third era. Internet and antitrust battles, the tides turn. Because as we know, huge success can sometimes create huge blind spots.
And despite their massive pop culture success in the 90s, Microsoft missed something enormous. The wake-up call came in May of 1995 when Bill Gates sent out a super urgent internal memo titled The Internet Tidal Wave. In it, he pointed straight at Netscape Navigator, calling it a new competitor born on the internet. Gates realized almost overnight that a web browser could eventually bypass the Windows operating system entirely, which posed a total existential threat to Microsoft's core business. Microsoft's reaction to this threat was swift, and it was severe. They quickly licensed the browser, renamed it Internet Explorer, and instead of selling it like everyone else was doing, they bundled it for free right inside of Windows. While this successfully starved Netscape out of the market, it triggered a massive legal fallout. In the year 2000 United States versus Microsoft judgment, the court literally labeled the company an abusive monopoly for using those tactics. They were initially ordered to be split into two entirely separate units. Now, that ruling was later overturned and settled out of court, but it definitely left a lasting scar on their corporate reputation.
Which smoothly leads us to era number 4, mobile misses and Xbox, the Ballmer era. A big change in leadership kicked off an era of daring hardware expansions.
With Steve Ballmer stepping up, Microsoft saw some thrilling highs and, honestly, some fairly embarrassing lows. Ballmer oversaw a really rapid diversification into consumer hardware. In 2001, right alongside the launch of the now legendary Windows XP, Microsoft decided to enter the fiercely competitive console market with the very first Xbox. Then by 2005, they launched the Xbox 360, which was a massive runaway success that deeply entrenched them in the gaming world. But as we roll into 2010, we see Microsoft trying to experiment with new consumer tech, and the results were vastly mixed.
Now, what's really fascinating about this is the sheer contrast in those outcomes. In late 2010, Microsoft released the Xbox Kinect sensor. It immediately became the fastest-selling consumer electronics product in history at the time, moving 8 million units in its first 60 days alone. But earlier that very same year, they launched the Microsoft Kin phone line. It was an absolute disaster. The phones were discontinued within just 2 months of release due to truly abysmal sales. It's a contrast that perfectly captures Microsoft's struggle at the time. They were brilliant at gaming hardware, but totally lost when it came to early mobile phones.
And that brings us to our fifth and final era: cloud, gaming, and AI, the Nadella Renaissance. Enter the third act. When Satya Nadella takes over in 2014, Microsoft undergoes a massive, aggressive transformation. They basically went on a shopping spree to buy their way right into the future. They grabbed Skype to dominate communication. They bought Mojang, the maker of Minecraft, for $2.5 billion, securing a massive younger demographic. They dropped $16 billion on Nuance Communications to capture AI voice tech for healthcare. And then the crown jewel, acquiring Activision Blizzard for an eye-watering $68.7 billion, instantly making them an absolute titan of the gaming ecosystem. Notice the one outlier from that era, though: the $7.2 billion Nokia purchase back in 2014. That was their final, doomed attempt to save their mobile business before completely pivoting.
But, Nadella didn't just buy companies. He completely flipped the script on historic Microsoft stances. He cut their losses on mobile, writing down $7.6 billion related to the phone business. Unthinkably for Microsoft at the time, he embraced open-source software, even joining the Linux Foundation. Keep in mind, this is an operating system that former CEO Steve Ballmer once literally called a cancer. Nadella then hyper-focused the company on the Azure cloud platform, driving massive enterprise revenue. And perhaps most importantly for the future, he secured an exclusive license to OpenAI's language models, positioning Microsoft at the very forefront of the artificial intelligence boom.
But hey, with all of that massive scale comes some massive vulnerability. Picture this: July 19, 2024. 8.5 million computers crashed globally. It wasn't even Microsoft's fault. It was a faulty update from a completely different cybersecurity company called CrowdStrike. Yet because all those vital systems were running Windows, the crash grounded global flights, it took major banks offline, and it seriously disrupted emergency services worldwide. It proved undeniably just how deeply integrated Microsoft remains in the world's critical infrastructure today.
So the really absolutely crucial takeaway here is this: Microsoft is no longer just that company selling you a Word document or a video game console. They are the actual scaffolding of our modern digital world. With a foundational stake in OpenAI and an infrastructure footprint capable of literally pausing global society in a matter of minutes, we have to stop and ask, how will Microsoft wield its immense power in the incoming era of artificial intelligence? It's a question that is absolutely going to shape our future, and I highly encourage you to keep exploring it. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.